Welcome back to our channel, coin lovers and collectors. Today, we are bringing you another exciting collection of interesting and collectible United States coins. In this video, we will take a closer look at several Washington quarters from different years and mint marks, including their history, design, specifications, mintage, condition, errors, varieties, and potential collector value. Some of these coins may look ordinary at first glance, but careful examination can reveal important details that every collector should know. So stay with us until the end, because you never know when an interesting coin could be hiding in your collection or pocket change. Let's begin our journey into the fascinating world of American coins. The 1977 Washington Quarter is a United States 25-cent coin from the classic Washington Quarter series. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and an American eagle on the reverse. The coin was designed by John Flanagan and belongs to the period when U.S. circulating quarters were made from copper-nickel-clad metal, rather than the 90% silver composition used on Washington quarters dated 1964 and earlier. The standard 1977 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge. The obverse of the 1977 Washington Quarter features the left-facing portrait of George Washington. Above the portrait is the word Liberty, while In God We Trust appears to the left of Washington's neck. The date 1977 is positioned below the portrait. The design was created by John Flanagan and became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. The portrait remained on the Washington Quarter for decades, making coins from different years easy for collectors to compare and organize. The reverse displays a large American bald eagle with its wings spread, standing over a bundle of arrows. An olive branch appears below the eagle, while the inscriptions United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and quarter dollar surround the design. The Latin phrase EPLURIBUS UNUM means out of many, one, and is an important traditional motto of the United States. The eagle reverse was used for Washington quarters during this era and continued until the major redesign period that began with the state quarters program in 1999. The regular 1977 Philadelphia quarter was struck without a mint mark and had a reported mintage of 468,556,000 coins. This is a very large production figure, meaning that the ordinary 1977 Philadelphia issue is not considered rare simply because of its date. PCGS describes the 1977 P issue as common in most grades, although examples in exceptionally high uncirculated grades become considerably harder to find. There was also a 1977 D Washington Quarter, produced at the Denver Mint. It carries a small D mint mark near the ribbon of Washington's hair and had a mintage of 256,524,978 pieces. The D mint issue is also generally common, although condition can make a major difference in collector interest. A collector looking at a 1977 quarter should therefore check the area near Washington's hair ribbon carefully to determine whether the coin is a Philadelphia issue with no mint mark or a Denver issue with a D. The 1977 S Washington Quarter was struck at the San Francisco Mint as a proof coin, with a much smaller mintage of 3,251,152. Proof coins were manufactured specifically for collectors and normally have specially prepared surfaces and sharper presentation than ordinary circulation strikes. Therefore, a 1977 S quarter should not be confused with an ordinary 1977 Philadelphia or Denver circulation quarter. An additional historical detail makes 1977 particularly interesting. The West Point Bullion Depository also produced quarters during the 1977-1979 period, and these coins were made without a mint mark and were identical in appearance to Philadelphia issues. For 1977, the reported West Point production was 7,352,000 quarters. This means that the no mint mark category is historically more complicated than simply saying that every 1977 no mint mark quarter was necessarily struck in Philadelphia. The composition of the 1977 Washington quarter is 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center. This copper-nickel clad construction became standard for circulating Washington quarters beginning in 1965. Because of this composition, a normal 1977 quarter should not be treated as a silver quarter simply because it is old or because the coin has a gray appearance. Collectors should always check the date and composition before making assumptions about precious metal value. The coin's 5.67-gram weight and 24.3 millimeter diameter are useful identification characteristics. A collector with a scale and calipers can compare a suspected 1977 quarter with the normal specifications. Significant differences in weight or unusual physical characteristics can sometimes be clues that a coin deserves additional examination. However, minor differences can occur because of wear, manufacturing tolerances, environmental effects, or measurement equipment. So a small difference alone does not prove that a coin is in error. The reeded edge is another normal characteristic. The edge contains many small grooves that extend around the circumference of the coin. When examining a 1977 quarter for unusual characteristics, collectors should inspect the edge as well as the obverse and reverse. Major abnormalities affecting the edge can sometimes be associated with minting errors, but damage caused after the coin left the mint can create similar-looking features. Careful comparison with normal examples is therefore important. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining the collector interest of a 1977 Washington quarter. A circulated example may have wear on Washington's hair, cheek, jaw, and other raised areas. The eagle and feathers on the reverse can also show flattening from circulation. Scratches, dents, stains, and contact marks are common because quarters were designed to move through everyday commerce rather than remain protected in collections. An uncirculated 1977 quarter can be much more attractive because it may retain its original mint luster and sharper details. Nevertheless, simply being uncirculated does not automatically make the coin rare. PCGS estimates that millions of 1977 Philadelphia quarters survive in grades of MS60 or better, while the number becomes much smaller at very high grades. PCGS specifically notes that the 1977 Philadelphia quarter is common in most grades, but becomes scarce around MS66 and higher, with MS67 examples being particularly difficult to obtain. This difference between ordinary and exceptional condition is one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. A coin can have a large mintage and still become valuable in an unusually high grade. Most coins produced in 1977 were handled, transported, stored, and eventually circulated. Contact between coins could create small marks, scratches, and abrasions. Finding an example with exceptionally clean surfaces and strong details can therefore be much harder than the original mintage number suggests. The auction record also demonstrates how high-grade examples can behave differently from ordinary coins. PCGS lists an auction record of $2,550 for a 1977 Philadelphia quarter, graded MS67+, sold on April 10, 2021. This is an exceptional result and should not be interpreted as the normal value of a 1977 quarter. Most circulated examples do not come close to such a price. The high auction result reflects the rarity and desirability of an exceptionally graded specimen rather than the date alone. Collectors should therefore avoid assuming that every 1977 quarter is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Online videos and social media posts sometimes highlight extraordinary auction results without explaining the coin's grade, certification, or special characteristics. A normal circulated 1977 quarter and a professionally certified MS-67 Plus example are completely different items from a collecting and market perspective. When inspecting a 1977 quarter, the first step should be identifying the mint. If there is no mint mark, it is normally categorized as a Philadelphia issue, although the historical West Point production from this period is an interesting complication. If a D appears near Washington's hair ribbon, it is the Denver issue. If an S appears and the coin has proof characteristics, it may be the San Francisco proof issue. Identifying the mint correctly is essential before researching value. Collectors should then examine the date and lettering carefully. The numbers in 1977 should be complete and naturally formed. Unusual doubling can sometimes attract attention, but many apparent doubled features are simply caused by lighting, shadows, scratches, or machine damage. A suspected doubled die should be compared against recognized references before being described as a valuable variety. The same principle applies to the mint mark on a 1977 D quarter. A strange-looking D is not automatically a valuable error. Circulation damage, scratches, corrosion, or alterations can change the appearance of small letters. Genuine varieties and errors should have characteristics consistent with known minting processes and should ideally be verified by experienced specialists or professional grading services. The surface condition of the coin should also be considered. Original mint luster is generally desirable, while harsh cleaning can leave unnatural brightness, hairlines, or scratches. Collectors usually prefer coins that have retained their original surfaces. For this reason, someone who discovers a potentially valuable 1977 quarter should avoid polishing it or applying chemicals in an attempt to improve its appearance. Tunning is another feature that may appear on older copper-nickel-clad coins. Some 1977 quarters can develop darker, golden, gray, or other natural colors as a result of their storage environment. Natural tunning is not automatically a defect, and some collectors appreciate attractive original tunning. However, artificial coloring or chemical treatment can reduce collector appeal. The overall originality of the surfaces is more important than simply making the coin look bright. The rims should be checked for unusual shapes or damage. A normal quarter should have a consistent rim around its perimeter. A significant off-center strike can cause part of the design to move toward the edge and may leave an area of blank planchet visible. Major off-center errors can be collectible, but ordinary damage to the rim from circulation should not be confused with a mint error. Other possible mint errors include broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, struck-through errors, and wrong planchet strikes. These errors are produced at different stages of the minting process and can vary greatly in desirability. A major, clearly identifiable error can be much more interesting than a minor imperfection. However, authentication is important because post-mint damage can imitate many error characteristics. The 1977 quarter is also historically important because it represents the classic eagle reverse Washington quarter. The traditional design remained in circulation for many years before the United States introduced the 50-state quarters program in 1999. This makes a 1977 example part of the final decades of the original Washington quarter design. Collectors who grew up with the classic quarter often recognize the eagle reverse immediately. The motto "In God We Trust" on the obverse is another traditional element of American coinage. Together with liberty, the date, and the portrait of Washington, it identifies the coin as an American denomination while emphasizing important national themes. On the reverse, EPLURIBUS, UNUM, and the American eagle continue this symbolism. The 1977 quarter is also a good example of why mintage and rarity are not the same thing. A mintage figure tells us how many coins were produced, but it does not tell us exactly how many remain today in every grade. Many coins were lost, destroyed, heavily worn, or stored in collections. Conversely, some dates with relatively large mintages can become difficult to find in exceptional grades. The survival of coins at specific grades is therefore an important part of advanced collecting. For someone searching through an old coin collection, jar, roll, or pocket change, a 1977 quarter is worth examining even though the date is common. The collector should look for exceptional preservation, strong luster, sharp details, unusual mint-made characteristics, and correct identification of the mint. A normal worn quarter is generally not a major rarity, but an unusually attractive or error example can be much more interesting. The 1977 Washington quarter also demonstrates the importance of professional grading. A grading service can authenticate a coin and assign a numerical grade based on its condition. This is particularly useful for coins that appear to be in exceptionally high condition or that may have a significant mint error. Certification can make it easier for buyers and sellers to understand exactly what is being offered, although the grade itself does not guarantee a particular selling price. In conclusion, the 1977 Washington quarter is a classic American 25-cent coin with a rich collecting history. The regular Philadelphia issue had a mintage of 468,556,000, while the Denver issue had 256,524,978, and the San Francisco proof issue had 3,251,152. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, measures about 24.3 millimeters, has a reeded edge, and uses a copper-nickel clad composition. Although an ordinary circulated 1977 quarter is common, high-grade examples can be considerably harder to find. The most important things to examine are the mint mark, condition, surfaces, strike quality, rims, edge, and any possible mint errors or recognized varieties. The remarkable auction result for a certified MS67 Plus example shows that exceptional coins can bring substantial premiums, but it should never be used to claim that every 1977 quarter is worth thousands of dollars. For collectors and viewers interested in American coinage, the 1977 Washington quarter is an excellent coin to study because it combines history, patriotic design, modern clad construction, large-scale production, and the possibility of valuable high-grade or error examples. It may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, but careful examination can reveal important differences between common circulated coins and truly exceptional specimens. The 1977 Washington quarter is also an excellent example of how American coinage was designed for durability and mass circulation. Quarters were used constantly in everyday commerce, so the mint needed to produce coins that could withstand repeated handling. The copper-nickel clad composition introduced for circulating quarters in 1965 provided a durable surface while reducing the cost associated with the silver composition previously used. As a result, a 1977 quarter is part of the modern era of U.S. coinage rather than the earlier silver era. The absence or presence of a mint mark is especially important when identifying a 1977 quarter. A regular Philadelphia issue normally has no mint mark, while the Denver issue carries a D. Collectors should look just to the right of Washington's hair ribbon on the obverse. This tiny location can be difficult to see on worn coins, so good lighting and magnification are useful. A missing mint mark on a 1977 quarter should not automatically be considered an error, because Philadelphia coins were intentionally produced without a mint mark. The historical production of 1977 quarters is particularly interesting, because the United States also used the West Point facility to strike some quarters without mint marks during this period. These coins were made for circulation and were not individually identified as West Point coins. This creates an interesting area of research for collectors who enjoy the history of U.S. mint facilities and production records. The Denver issue is often collected alongside the Philadelphia issue. A collector assembling a Daytan mint set may want both versions of the 1977 quarter. Although the designs are essentially the same, the mint mark makes them different collectible issues. Comparing the two can also help beginners learn where mint marks are located and how production information is incorporated into U.S. coin designs. The 1977 S-proof quarter is different from the ordinary circulation issues. Proof coins were manufactured using specially prepared dies and planchets to create a more polished presentation. A proof quarter can show sharper details and reflective or specially finished surfaces depending on the proof type. Collectors who encounter a 1977 quarter with an S-mint mark should examine it carefully to determine whether it is a proof issue rather than an ordinary circulation strike. Another reason the 1977 quarter is interesting is the number of surviving coins. Large production numbers do not necessarily mean that every coin has survived in excellent condition. Many were spent and circulated for years. Some were lost, damaged, or melted as part of normal economic activity. Others were saved in collections. The population of surviving coins is therefore different from the original mintage. Collectors often use the term survival estimate when discussing how many examples remain. Survival estimates are not exact counts because nobody can know precisely how many coins are still hidden in collections, bags, jars, or other locations. Instead, researchers use grading records, historical evidence, and observed populations to estimate availability. This is one reason why a coin's rarity can be different from what its original mintage might suggest. High-grade modern coins can have a special challenge known as contact marks. When freshly struck coins are placed into large containers, they can collide with one another. A quarter can leave a small mark on another quarter's surface. These marks may be very small, but they become increasingly important when collectors are evaluating coins at high grades. A coin with fewer marks and strong luster can be significantly more desirable. The cheek of George Washington is one area collectors often inspect closely because it is a large open surface that can show contact marks easily. The fields around the portrait should also be examined for scratches or abrasions. On the reverse, collectors can inspect the eagle and the surrounding fields. Strong details combined with clean surfaces can make an uncirculated example visually impressive. The strike quality can vary from coin to coin. A well-struck quarter may show strong definition in the hair and eagle feathers, while another example may appear softer in certain areas. Collectors should not confuse every weak detail with a mint error. Strike strength can vary as a normal result of die condition, striking pressure, planchet characteristics, and other production factors. The rim is another useful diagnostic area. A properly struck quarter normally has a complete and even rim. If the design appears dramatically shifted, if part of the planchet is missing, or if the shape is substantially different from normal, further investigation may be justified. Major errors can be valuable, but the coin should be studied carefully to distinguish mint-made abnormalities from damage that occurred after production. The weight of the coin can also be useful when investigating unusual examples. A normal 1977 clad quarter has a standard weight of approximately 5.67 grams. If a suspected error weighs significantly more or less than expected, the difference may justify additional research. However, wear, dirt, corrosion, scale accuracy, and manufacturing tolerances can all influence measurements, so weight should be considered together with other evidence. The edge of a 1977 quarter normally contains reading. Collectors sometimes find coins with damaged or flattened edges and assume they are mint errors. In many cases, these marks were created after the coin entered circulation. A genuine mint error should have evidence consistent with the manufacturing process. This is why experienced error collectors consider the complete coin and its production characteristics. A major error can transform an otherwise common 1977 quarter into a much more interesting collectible. For example, a dramatic off-center strike can show a large area of blank planchet while retaining part of the date. A clipped planchet can have an unusual missing section along the edge. A broad strike can expand beyond the normal collar dimensions. These are very different from ordinary scratches, dents, or bends. The 1977 Washington Quarter also provides an opportunity to learn about the history of the U.S. Mint. Coins were produced at multiple facilities, each serving different purposes. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco all played important roles in American coin production, while West Point was also involved in certain circulation coin production during this era. Mint marks help collectors connect an individual coin with the facility that produced it. The classic eagle reverse is particularly significant because it represents the final decades of the original Washington Quarter design. The design remained familiar to Americans for generations. When the state quarters program began in 1999, the reverse changed dramatically as different state designs were introduced. The 1977 quarter therefore belongs to a period before one of the most significant changes in American circulating coin design. The coin's patriotic inscriptions also contribute to its historical character. Liberty reflects a fundamental American ideal, while "In God We Trust" is the official national motto appearing on the coin. EPLURIBUSUNUM, meaning "out of many, one," appears on the reverse. Together, these words and the eagle design create a strong national identity that has remained a feature of U.S. coinage for generations. The 1977 quarter can also be an affordable entry point for a new collector. Because common examples are not expensive, beginners can study the design without needing to purchase costly rare coins. They can learn how to identify mint marks, evaluate wear, recognize circulation damage, compare surfaces, and understand grading terminology. Over time, the collector can move toward higher-grade examples, varieties, errors, or complete date and mint collections. For a YouTube coin video, it is important to present the value of the 1977 quarter accurately. It is better to explain that most circulated examples are common, while exceptional grades and genuine errors can be worth substantially more. This creates realistic expectations for viewers and helps prevent the common misconception that every older quarter is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. A collector should also avoid cleaning a potentially valuable 1977 quarter. Polishing, rubbing, abrasive materials, or chemical cleaners can permanently alter the surface. Even if the coin looks brighter afterward, the resulting hairlines or unnatural appearance may reduce its collector appeal. The safest approach for an interesting coin is generally to preserve it in its existing condition and seek professional advice if necessary. Storage is another important part of coin preservation. Coins should ideally be kept in holders or environments that reduce unnecessary handling and exposure to harmful materials. Handling a coin by its edges, instead of touching the main surfaces, can help prevent fingerprints and oils from accumulating. Proper storage becomes especially important for high-grade coins because small surface changes can affect their appearance. Ultimately, the 1977 Washington Quarter demonstrates that coin collecting is about much more than simply finding an old date. A coin's history, mint, composition, condition, rarity at a particular grade, errors, varieties, and market demand all contribute to its significance. The 1977 issue is common enough to be accessible, but interesting enough to teach many important principles of numismatics. The 1996 P. Washington Quarter is an excellent example of the standard U.S. circulating quarter from the 1990s. Although the coin was produced in enormous quantities, its history, design, specifications, condition, and possible varieties make it interesting for both beginning and experienced collectors. The P Mint mark tells collectors that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. When examining one of these quarters, it is important to distinguish between ordinary circulation damage and characteristics that were actually created during the minting process. A genuine mint error can sometimes add significant collector interest, while damage that happened after the coin left the mint usually does not carry the same premium. The obverse portrait of George Washington remains one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. Washington faces left, with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the dates surrounding his portrait. The design has a long history and became one of the most familiar images on American money. The 1996 P quarter, therefore, represents not only a denomination used for everyday transactions, but also a continuation of an important American coin design tradition. Collectors often enjoy comparing different decades of Washington quarters because changes in strike quality, surface preservation, mint marks, and varieties can be observed from one issue to another. The reverse of the 1996 P quarter features the American bald eagle with its wings extended. The eagle holds arrows in its talons, while an olive branch appears below it. The inscriptions United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and quarter dollar surround the central design. This reverse was used for many years and became strongly associated with the traditional Washington quarter series. Because the design was produced in such large numbers, collectors often pay particular attention to coins that have unusually sharp details, attractive luster, or exceptionally clean surfaces. A collector examining a 1996 P quarter should first determine whether the coin is circulated or uncirculated. Circulated coins normally show wear on the highest points of Washington's portrait and on the eagle's feathers. Small scratches, contact marks, dark spots, and loss of mint luster are common because quarters spend much of their lives moving through vending machines, cash registers, pockets, bags, and coin-counting equipment. An uncirculated coin that has never experienced normal circulation can preserve much more of its original mint appearance, making it more desirable to collectors. The quality of the strike is another important consideration. A strongly struck quarter will generally display clearer lettering and stronger details in Washington's hair and on the eagle. Some coins can show weaker details because of die condition, striking pressure, planchet characteristics, or other production factors. A weak strike should not automatically be confused with an error. Collectors usually look for documented varieties and genuine mint-made abnormalities, rather than simply unusual-looking details. Surface preservation is especially important for modern coins. Because 1996 P quarters were made for circulation, many examples received contact marks almost immediately after production. Coins could strike against one another while being transported or stored in large bags. Even a coin that entered circulation only briefly may have small marks across Washington's cheek or the open fields of the coin. High-grade collectors therefore search through large numbers of pieces to find examples with clean surfaces and attractive eye appeal. The color and appearance of a 1996 P quarter can also vary. Freshly minted copper-nickel-clad coins generally show a bright metallic appearance, while circulated examples can become duller because of handling and environmental exposure. Some coins may develop dark spots or discoloration. Such changes do not automatically indicate rarity. Collectors should be cautious about cleaning or polishing a coin, because artificial cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces and may reduce its desirability. Another interesting area is the possibility of mint errors. Errors can occur when something goes wrong during planchet preparation, die production, striking, or the movement of coins through the minting process. Examples of major errors can include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, wrong planchets, and certain forms of dramatic die problems. However, minor abnormalities are common and may not carry significant value. A suspected error should be carefully examined, and when potentially valuable, authenticated by a reputable professional grading service. The 1996 P issue is also useful for people who are building a complete Washington quarter collection. A collector may organize coins by date and mint mark, for example, collecting Philadelphia, Denver, and proof issues separately. Another collector may focus on high-grade examples, while someone else may specialize in errors and varieties. The same ordinary quarter can therefore have different levels of importance depending on the collecting goal. Collectors should also remember that a coin's value is not determined by age alone. A 1996 quarter is relatively modern compared with many 19th and early 20th century U.S. coins. A common modern coin can remain worth only face value even if it has been sitting in a collection for decades. What can create additional value is scarcity in a particular grade, a recognized variety, a significant mint error, or strong demand among collectors. The 1996 P quarter can be especially interesting when found in exceptional condition. Modern coins are often saved in large quantities, but very high-grade pieces can still be difficult to locate because tiny marks can prevent a coin from receiving the highest grades. Professional certification records can help collectors understand how uncommon a particular grade may be. This is one reason why a coin that looks ordinary to the naked eye can sometimes become more interesting after careful examination. The edge of the 1996 P Washington quarter is reeded. These small grooves around the edge have been a traditional feature of many U.S. coins and also make it easier to identify certain types of coins by touch. When checking a quarter, collectors should inspect the edge as well as the two faces. Missing or unusual edge characteristics can sometimes be associated with minting errors, although many apparent edge abnormalities are simply the result of circulation damage. The 1996 date also places this coin very close to the end of the classic Washington quarter era. In 1999, the United States began issuing the state quarters series, which dramatically changed the appearance of the quarter's reverse. The 1996 P quarter therefore belongs to the final years of the long period during which the traditional eagle reverse appeared on circulating Washington quarters. This historical position makes the coin a useful representative of the late 20th century period of U.S. coinage. For anyone searching through old coins, the most important lesson is to examine the coin carefully rather than relying only on the date. Start with the date and mint mark, then check the overall condition, strike, surfaces, lettering, rims, and edge. If something appears unusual, compare it with trusted coin references and examples of known varieties. Photographs taken under good lighting can also help when asking experienced collectors for opinions. The 1996 P Washington quarter may not be rare simply because it carries the 1996 date and P mint mark, but that does not make it uninteresting. Its large production, classic Washington design, copper-nickel clad composition, Philadelphia origin, and potential for high-grade examples or genuine mint errors all contribute to its collecting appeal. For a beginner, it is an easy coin to recognize and study, while for a more advanced collector, exceptional examples can become part of a much more specialized search. Ultimately, the 1996 P Washington quarter represents an important period in American circulating coinage. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse, combining historical symbolism with the practical role of a 25-cent coin. While most examples found in everyday circulation are not extremely valuable, collectors should never assume that every example is identical. Differences in preservation, strike, surface quality, errors, and varieties can make individual coins much more interesting. Careful examination, accurate identification, and realistic valuation are the keys to understanding what a particular 1996 P quarter may be worth. The 1996 P Washington quarter is a United States 25-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint and identified by the P mint mark on the obverse. It belongs to the classic Washington quarter series that used the familiar George Washington portrait and the traditional American eagle reverse. The 1996 P issue had a very large mintage of 925,040,000 coins, so the date and mint mark by themselves do not make the coin rare. However, exceptionally preserved examples, high-grade certified specimens, and genuine mint errors can be considerably more desirable to collectors. The obverse of the 1996 P. Washington quarter features a left-facing portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The word liberty appears above Washington, while In God W.E. Trust is located to the left of his portrait. The date 1996 appears below Washington. The small P mint mark is positioned near Washington's hair ribbon and identifies Philadelphia as the mint where this quarter was produced. The portrait was designed by John Flanagan, whose Washington design was used on quarters for many decades. The reverse of the coin displays a large American bald eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle holds a bundle of arrows, while an olive branch is positioned below it. Around the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and quarter dollar. The phrase EPLURIBUS UNUM, meaning out of many, one, is one of the traditional mottos associated with United States coinage. This classic eagle reverse was used on Washington quarters from the earlier decades of the series through the late 1990s, before the major changes associated with the 50-state quarters program. The physical specifications of the 1996 P quarter are standard for the Washington quarters of this era. The coin has a diameter of approximately 24.3 millimeters and weighs 5.67 grams. Its edge is reeded, meaning that numerous small grooves run around the edge. The coin is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center, giving it the familiar copper-nickel clad appearance of modern circulating U.S. quarters. The huge production number is one of the most important facts about the 1996 P issue. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 925.04 million examples. The Denver Mint produced another 906.868 million 1996 D quarters, while San Francisco produced proof examples for collectors. Because so many regular 1996 P quarters were made, an ordinary circulated example is generally common. Collectors therefore pay much more attention to condition, errors, varieties, and exceptional grades when evaluating an individual coin. The P mint mark is an important identification feature. Philadelphia began using the P mint mark on circulating quarters in 1980, so the presence of a P on a 1996 quarter is normal. It should not automatically be considered an error or unusual feature. The mint mark is located to the right of Washington's hair ribbon and can be seen more easily under good lighting or magnification. One of the most important factors affecting the collectible desirability of a 1996 P quarter is its condition. A heavily circulated example can show wear on Washington's hair, cheek, jaw, and other raised areas. The eagle on the reverse may also have flattened feather details. Scratches, dents, stains, and contact marks can further reduce the coin's appearance. A coin that has remained uncirculated can retain much more of its original mint luster and sharp detail. The difference between a normal uncirculated coin and an exceptionally high-grade coin can be very significant. PCGS describes the 1996 P quarter as very common through MS65, with MS66 examples still readily obtainable. At MS67, the coins become more challenging to locate, while MS68 examples are very scarce, with PCGS noting fewer than 100 known in that grade in its referenced assessment. This is an excellent example of how a coin can have a huge original mintage while becoming scarce in an extremely high grade. The auction history of the 1996 P quarter also demonstrates the importance of grade. PCGS records an auction result of $1,998 for an MS68 example, sold by Heritage Auctions on November 29, 2012. This is an exceptional result and should not be interpreted as the normal value of a 1996 P quarter. Most circulated examples are worth much less, while the high auction result reflects the desirability of an exceptionally graded specimen. NGC's current information also demonstrates the effect of condition. Its 1996 P. Washington quarter listing shows a broad range of values across grades, with ordinary examples remaining inexpensive, while higher-grade pieces can command substantially greater premiums. The NGC information also records certified populations across the grading scale, showing how the number of known examples changes as the grade increases. Collectors should therefore avoid assuming that every 1996 P quarter is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The high prices sometimes shown online usually relate to a particular certified grade, exceptional quality, or unusual error. A normal circulated 1996 P quarter should not be valued based on an extraordinary auction result for an MS-68 coin. The exact condition and characteristics of the individual coin are always important. When examining the obverse, collectors should pay close attention to Washington's cheek, hair, jaw, lettering, date, and mint mark. These areas can reveal wear, contact marks, or unusual characteristics. The large open fields around the portrait should also be checked because they can show scratches and abrasions very easily. An uncirculated coin with clean surfaces and attractive luster can be much more desirable than another example with numerous marks. The reverse deserves equally careful attention. The eagle's feathers, arrows, olive branch, lettering, and surrounding fields should all be examined. A strong strike can provide sharp details, while a weaker strike may make some areas appear less defined. Not every weak detail is an error. Differences can result from die condition, striking pressure, planchet characteristics, or other normal aspects of coin production. The reeded edge is another useful feature when inspecting the coin. A normal 1996 P quarter should have consistent grooves around its edge. Collectors sometimes find quarters with damaged, flattened, or unusual edges and immediately assume that the coin is a mint error. However, edge damage can easily occur after the coin enters circulation. Genuine mint errors should be supported by evidence that the abnormality occurred during the manufacturing process. The coin's weight can also be checked if a collector suspects an unusual error. The standard weight is approximately 5.67 grams. A significant difference may justify further investigation, especially if the coin also has an unusual appearance. However, a tiny difference in weight does not automatically prove that the coin is an error because wear, dirt, environmental exposure, manufacturing tolerances, and scale accuracy can all influence measurements. Collectors interested in errors may search for off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, struck-through errors, die cracks, and other mint-made abnormalities. A major error can make an otherwise common quarter much more interesting. However, many marks found on circulated coins are simply damage. Scratches, dents, cuts, flattened rims, and discoloration that occurred after the coin left the mint usually should not be treated as valuable mint errors. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet is not properly centered between the dies during striking. A major example can show a noticeable portion of blank planchet and a design that is dramatically shifted. The degree of displacement and whether important features such as the date remain visible can influence collector interest. Minor irregularities should not automatically be considered valuable. A clipped planchet is another type of mint error that can create an unusual shape. It occurs when the metal strip is improperly punched during planchet preparation, leaving a section missing from the finished coin. A genuine clipped planchet generally has characteristics consistent with the minting process. Damage that removes part of a coin after production can look similar, so authentication is important for valuable examples. A broad strike can occur when the coin is struck without proper containment by the collar. The resulting quarter can have an expanded shape or unusual rim characteristics. Again, collectors should distinguish a genuine broad strike from a coin that was flattened or damaged outside the mint. Die-related abnormalities can also be interesting. A die crack can appear as a raised line on the finished coin because the crack in the die transfers metal onto the planchet. Major die breaks can become collectible, while small die cracks or ordinary die wear may have little additional value. Comparing the coin with known examples is an important part of determining whether a feature is significant. The surfaces of a 1996 p quarter should be examined for original mint luster. Freshly struck coins can have a distinctive luster created by the movement of metal during the striking process. When a coin is tilted under light, the luster can move across the surface. A cleaned coin may appear shiny, but often has unnatural brightness or fine scratches. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces, particularly when considering high-grade specimens. Cleaning should therefore be avoided. A person might believe that polishing a dull quarter will increase its value, but cleaning can permanently damage the surface. Abrasive materials can leave hairline scratches, while chemicals can alter the original appearance. If a 1996 p quarter appears unusually well preserved or potentially valuable, it is generally better to leave it untouched and have it evaluated professionally if necessary. The color of a clad quarter can change depending on its storage and environmental history. Some examples may become darker or develop different shades over time. Natural tunning is not automatically a defect. However, artificial coloring or chemical treatment can reduce collector appeal. The important question is whether the coin retains original, undamaged surfaces. The 1996 p quarter can also be compared with the 1996 d quarter. The Denver issue had a mintage of 906,868,000, while Philadelphia produced 925,040,000 regular quarters. Both coins have the same basic design: weight, diameter, edge, and clad composition. The mint mark is the key difference between them. The 1996 S-proof quarter belongs to a different category because it was produced specifically for collectors rather than ordinary circulation. The regular Philadelphia and Denver quarters were business strikes intended for everyday use. This distinction is important when organizing a collection because proof coins can have different surfaces, production methods, and collecting values. The 1996 p quarter also represents the final years of the traditional Eagle Reverse Washington quarter. The 50-state quarters program began in 1999 and introduced changing reverse designs representing individual states. Therefore, the 1996 p quarter is part of the closing chapter of the long period in which the traditional Eagle Reverse appeared on circulating Washington quarters. This historical position adds interest for collectors who specialize in the development of U.S. quarter designs. The motto, EPLURIBUS is an especially recognizable part of the reverse. The phrase means out of many, one, and expresses the concept of unity. Along with the American Eagle United States of America and quarter dollar, it gives the reverse a strong national identity. The obverse similarly combines Washington's portrait with liberty, "In God we trust," and the date. The 1996 p quarter is an excellent coin for beginners because it is easy to identify while still providing opportunities to learn advanced collecting concepts. A beginner can practice recognizing the mint mark, determining whether the coin is circulated or uncirculated, identifying the normal design, checking the edge, and comparing surfaces. More advanced collectors can investigate high-grade examples, die characteristics, and genuine errors. Another important concept is eye appeal. Two coins can receive the same numerical grade but look different to collectors. One may have clean surfaces, attractive luster, and pleasing overall appearance, while another may have distracting marks or unattractive tunning. Eye appeal can influence how strongly collectors compete for a particular coin, especially at high grades. Storage also matters. A potentially valuable quarter should be protected from unnecessary scratches, fingerprints, moisture, and harmful chemicals. When handling a coin, holding it carefully by the edge helps reduce the chance of fingerprints on the main surfaces. A suitable coin holder can provide additional protection while allowing the coin to be viewed. The 1996 p Washington quarter is therefore a good example of a common date with potential high-grade rarity. Its enormous production means that most circulated examples are ordinary, but the population becomes much smaller as the grade approaches the top of the scale. PCGS estimates a substantial number surviving in all grades, while its assessment shows a much smaller population at the highest grades. For anyone finding a 1996 P quarter in an old collection, coin jar, bankroll, or pocket change, the best approach is careful examination rather than assuming it is either worthless or extremely valuable. Confirm the P mint mark, inspect the date, study the condition, check the surfaces, examine the edge, and look for genuine mint-made errors. If the coin appears exceptionally clean or unusual, professional authentication and grading may be worth considering. The 1996 P Washington quarter demonstrates an important lesson in numismatics. Mintage alone does not determine value. A coin with hundreds of millions produced can still be difficult to find in an elite grade. Conversely, an older coin with a lower mintage may not necessarily be valuable if many examples survive and collector demand is weak. Rarity, grade, originality, demand, and special characteristics all work together. In conclusion, the 1996 P Washington quarter is a classic United States 25-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It has a mintage of 925,040,000, weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters, has a reeded edge, and is made from copper-nickel-clad material with a copper center. The obverse features George Washington, Liberty, In God W.E. Trust, the date 1996, and the P mint mark. The reverse features the American Eagle along with United States of America, EPLURIBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. Most circulated 1996 P quarters are common and should not be valued as rare coins simply because they are several decades old. However, exceptionally preserved examples can be much more interesting. PCGS records an auction result of $1,998 for an MS-68 specimen, while its research describes MS-68 examples as very scarce. This shows why collectors should pay close attention to grade and condition rather than relying only on the date. Overall, the 1996 P Washington quarter is a fascinating piece of late 20th century American coinage. It combines the historic portrait of George Washington, the patriotic eagle reverse, traditional American mottos, Philadelphia production, durable clad construction, and the final years of the classic eagle reverse quarter design. Whether found in circulation or an old collection, it is worth examining carefully because an ordinary example and an exceptional high-grade or genuine error example can have very different levels of collector interest.